Hello, survivors, and welcome to the Zombicide Fans Podcast, where we discuss and review all Zombicide games. I'm Ryan, and along with hosts Schmedley and James, and special guest Jason, we're picking up right where we left off last episode with our discussion and review of the Zombicide 2nd Edition Kickstarter. Here we go. Alright, so getting back to the reboot box, so the abominations, actually, we might as well talk about pimp weapons because they're right here. Each of the new pimp weapons included in the set comes with 2 copies. And then there was also a Mumra. I like to think he's Mumra, the mummy abomination, which always shows up and is terrifying out of that pimp weapon deck. Actually, it doesn't actually say what they are, does it?
No, I think it's just explaining the advanced versions versus the normal versions. I think that's the point there.
Oh, right.
Trying to explain to you why you have the 2 copies.
Yeah.
Because you got the 2 copies in that box. Whereas to get the advanced versions of the other epic weapons, you'd actually have to have those campaign boxes.
Got it.
But if you also notice right underneath it, it's the Danny Trejo skill. Right there, plain as day, which I just blew right past.
I know.
I thought
it would have been somewhere else too. Okay, so the let's see. The pimp weapons are, well, there's the mummy abomination, which is not a weapon. There's the wrecking ball. It kind of goes with the Miley Cyrus character, right? There's Mason's sledgehammer. There's a nail bat, the minigun, the gun blade, the nail gun. Are all those, do I have that right? Were those all exclusive ones?
Yeah. And the RPG.
The what?
The RPG.
Oh, the RPG. That's right. Oh, I think I still have it on somebody's dashboard behind me. And the zombie costume. So the last one, they put out a poll of like all these different options for the community to choose, and they chose the zombie costume, which
was a lame choice.
I thought so too. How did everybody feel about this choice?
At the time, I didn't care. I wasn't paying that close attention to worry about what they were picking. I figured they were already going to pick it no matter what. But I think it's a really powerful card. Whenever I get it, I feel invincible with it. Obviously, it gives you slippery and then allows you to ignore all wounds. So if something really bad happens, it's that, I don't care how many wounds I take this turn. I just discard this card and I don't get hurt.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very, very powerful card.
I guess. It feels lame to pull. I'd rather have a cool fancy weapon.
Yeah, because I remember they put the poll out, and I don't remember what they were now. I think the one that I liked was they were kind of like Green Goblin pumpkin bombs, and they had other fun stuff. There was like we're just getting wacky, and just everybody pick, and people picked the zombie costume. I felt let down by it too, but it is cool that it is unique.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather like. My top 2 cards out of that set is the zombie costume and Mason's sledgehammer. Once you get Mason's sledgehammer, then for the most part, abominations don't become near as scary. You could say the same thing about RPGs until, they get within 2 zones of you or you're inside. And then the RPG is pretty worthless.
Right. Because RPG is 2 to 3 range, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that there's other ways to kill abominations. In fact, I just introduced some new friends to Zombicide just the other night, and it was they chose the fantasy version as the one they wanted to go with. But I noticed just some, some of the house rules, trying to play with a few more than just one abomination, really kind of freaked them out because you have to get the Dragon Bile plus the torch, and obviously in 2nd edition it's just a Molotov already set to go, which is already maybe an improvement for certain groups. But I like that there are other weapons that can make abominations a little less crazy. And it makes my crazy house rules of spawning multiple abominations a little more manageable. And so I think that's really fun. I really enjoy the sledgehammer and the RPG for those reasons. So
yeah, the thing I like about the sledgehammer too is it's not automatic. You still have to work for it. You still have to roll a 6. You still have to take that risk of being in a zone with somebody to use it. So it's not the Molotov. It's not an instant death. So it feels very powerful to me, but it doesn't feel like it's so overpowerful that it, makes the game, not near as fun or challenging.
Yeah, I agree. Like a damage 2 weapon that has a chance of being a damage 1, you have to work for it, as opposed to just a straight up damage 3 is I think, always better.
Mm-hmm.
Right. New abominations. I think Bigfoot is friggin' hilarious. Like, I didn't pre-read it. I just played it and he came out once. So the Bigfoot doesn't spawn if a survivor has line of sight on its spawning zone. In that case, its abomination card is shuffled back in the abomination deck. Don't draw another zombie card for the zone. So yeah, I just thought it was hilarious because I drew Bigfoot. I was like, oh, Bigfoot. And then I took his minute. Like, I just saw that it was Bigfoot on the card and I put him in the spot. And then I actually read the ability. It's like, oh, nobody sees him, so he's back. Goes back in the deck, back into the woods. This was hilarious. This is cracking up.
I would say Black Dog is clearly the most dangerous of the bunch.
Yeah,
I've always been the most afraid, at least like on paper, of Cthulhu here, which is the next one. But I think just objectively, Black Dog is more dangerous.
as long as the Black Dog is on the board, survivors are eliminated upon receiving any number of wounds. Wounds previously received do not count.
And unless you're playing a campaign, that means instant loss of the mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why he's the most dangerous. I mean,
Yeah.
you lose the mission if you suffer a wound while he's on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, Cthulhu puts you on a timer, but it doesn't end the game.
But it's. I mean, it does if it runs out.
No,
but yeah,
then you just start taking wounds. You don't lose the mission.
6 turns is just also, it's so much. I don't think any abomination has ever been on the board for 6 turns unless we're doing like a Molotov roulette in first edition.
Yeah, I think Cthulhu is kind of a paper tiger. I mean, he sounds dangerous, but once you realize what he is, he's not as dangerous.
Oh my gosh, paper tiger. I love this term. How have I never heard of this before? Love it. Yeah, Black Dog in 2, he strikes me as a reference to, is his name Gamork? From the Never-Ending Story? I think gave me nightmares as a kid. That was terrifying. Being a kid of the 80s.
I always just thought it was from the Led Zeppelin song.
Oh, is there a Led Zeppelin song called Black Dog?
Yeah.
Sweet.
You 70s kids.
Not me. All right, let's see. Who else?
Lanky Man's a pain in the ass. He's just a straight up pain in the ass.
Let's see. What does he do?
Yeah, what? I don't actually remember.
Yeah. As long as the Lanky Man is on the board, the accuracy of all weapons used by survivors is considered 1 point higher with a maximum of 6. Example, the machete has a 3+ accuracy. With the Lanky Man hanging around, it raises it to 4+. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good pain to have.
Yeah.
Can anyone help me remember?
The Greenwich crew requires some thought on how you can't just throw a Molotov with your last action and think all is well.
Yeah, I like that. Because when you when you eliminate the Greenwich crew, you place 5 runners in the zone at occupied. That's really fun. What were we going to say, Jason?
I'm trying to remember now. There is an abomination that I think, like, as long as it's within like one zone of a dark zone, it can't be like eliminated. But I'm trying to remember.
Chupacabra is, if he's in a dark zone, he can't be eliminated.
Okay.
Right.
I just found that one to be a real pain, but yeah, that's not the reboot box. So
I like that Bear Manbor can't be eliminated as long as there's another abomination on the board. So I can screw up your plans.
That abomination is also very dangerous.
Yeah, I remember that. Let's see, but I don't remember what he does. He can't trace line of sight. Each time the Bad Abomination gets an activation, check the zone with the most noise tokens. Survivors do not count as noise tokens for this. For its ensuing activation, the Bad Abomination has as many actions as noise tokens in the corresponding zone. There are no noise tokens on the board. The Bad Abomination has 0 actions. Okay.
So you got your John Wick character with escalation. You're not going to sit there in one zone and just go with 4 actions shooting with him. Because now you got 4 noise tokens. Now Bad Abomination gets 4 actions.
That's cool.
He'll get to you real quick.
I need to play more often with more abominations. I'm telling you that because it's so fun how all of these shake things up.
How many abominations do you normally play with? You gotta throw them all in there. Yeah.
I don't know. Later, I'll tell you about how wacky my deck was and how wacky my games were. All right, those are the abominations that we about covered them. And then there's the daily zombie spawn house rules. So as they were coming out with the daily zombie unlocks in the campaign, they're like implying like what they were just saying like and we decided to make up a special ability house rule for this thing. And then everybody in the campaign is going, you gotta make a pamphlet for this or cards or something.
Yeah.
And they ended up putting them in this book. So it even says right here,
it's a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even if like logically, even if we could spawn these, I don't think it would amount to much. They're cool mechanics, but most of them like don't have any kind of ability to stay alive. A lot of the extra things are kind of gimmicky. Like I feel like you just lose track of where they were. Well, in your guys' cases, they'd be painted, but it's just there's not much. They're just kind of worse abominations.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. And to me, what they should have done was come out with zombie spawn cards on the back, and then on the front that you would read, they would look like an abomination card. They would have a summary of their rules, so you wouldn't have to go and look at this little rule book every time you pulled one. Yeah. You could just pull their spawn card, spawn them, set the card wherever by the board or even on the board next to them, and you would know what they do.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is there were daily unlocks of unique zombie types, walkers, runners, brutes, fatties, all those, and they put for fun like little house rules. And they even say here in this book, like, please note these house rules were made just for fun and were not tested or balanced. You can use these suggestions or come with your own house rules for each of these zombies. There's 31 different zombies: ballerina, bride, cat lady, cheerleader, butler, coffin Joe. And there's tons. Well, I'll just name them all off because they're fun. Flight attendant, lion dancer, judge, lunch lady, lawnmower man, magician, nun, one-man band, swimmer, postman, waitress, Ren Fair man, bullfighter, Olympic runner, pizza delivery boy, quarterback, goth chick, robber, skateboarder, luchador, sports fan, unicorn girl, sumo wrestler, and welder. So that was the 31 unique zombie types that, again, had all these special rules for each and like mini abominations, but I agree, like too fiddly to like have to go and look in the book for what they were and to try to remember those things. And like I've seen a ton of different people make custom cards for these that they've posted online that you can just print and play at home, and that's really cool. Even still, like even if I had the physical cards, I don't know if I would use them because it's just so hard to track.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the cool things that you can do with Zombicide 2nd Edition is you can just change up then. Like take a few of the miniatures out that are repeats from what you have for your zombie spawns and put these miniatures in. And then if you have the Paris box, if you have the Rio box, those also come with alternate sculpts for zombies. You can have one of the most unique looking zombie hordes that's ever been created. And I think that's kind of the way to go. It's kind of a missed opportunity because I'm a huge fan of zombie types, and I'm really sad they didn't do more. Haven't kept that up and down.
And I do think that's the way to go. Like I said before, I think a lot of these rules are like they're super cool on paper. They're paper tigers, but just in practice, I like imagine playing with these. A bunch of these I feel like would barely come up before they died. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and while I 100% appreciate all the people out there that did the hard work to come up with cards for these, you shouldn't ask for people that buy this stuff to have to go make their own cards or find somebody else's cards and print them off to be able to play with them. There should have been some included in this set to be able to play with them. And what's almost even more egregious to me over this is that they repeated this mistake again and again. They did the same thing in Undead or Alive, and they did the same thing in White Death.
Oh,
I mean, I just don't understand why they didn't learn from this one that, people aren't playing with these things because we didn't give them any way to play with them. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I didn't realize they did that in the other campaigns. I wasn't paying close enough attention. It's funny. I love that under the cheerleader, the flavor text is, "Give me a Z."
Yeah.
All right, Schmedley, who's your favorite daily zombie spawn zombie?
I do like Coffin Joe just because I think his model stands out the most. His ruling is a little weak. It's one of the ones like that. But I do think it's very funny, the idea that like he woke up like it during his funeral, and he's just like, this works. I'll work with this.
Yeah, he's like still in the coffin, walking around,
Yeah.
trying to eat brains.
Yeah, Unicorn Girl is pretty fun. She's just a fun looking model. I like it. And then the person in the Chinese dragon costume, I think, is pretty fun looking.
Yeah,
too.
I think there's like 2 persons in there actually.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, the lion dancer. Yeah, there's like
it's
one
fun.
that's being like drugged by the one that's in front, trying to get at you. And like the Chinese dragon. Jason, what's your favorite?
I have a couple different favorites. I really enjoy the Sports Fan and the Welder. Both are fatty alternates. I wasn't as much of a fan of some of the fatty sculpts in the base box, so it's nice to have some unique ones I could replace the ones I didn't like as much with.
Yeah.
But for a different one too, I really like I think there's a crazy cat lady.
Yeah.
I just really like it because I think there's got like 3 or 4 different cats on her model too.
Yeah.
Which is super funny.
It looks like more like 5. It's awesome. Yeah, my favorite also is Coffin Joe. He cracks me up. Like every time I
It's
think
so
about
funny.
him and look at him, it's just like this poor guy.
He also, I think he just stands out the most, especially for me, because all of mine are unpainted. I just open the reboot box, like a lot of the daily spawns are right there. It's like, oh, there's Coffin Joe.
Yeah. But yeah, I totally agree with you guys too that like these miniatures are incredible. Like the sculpts are so good. And that's part of why I love Coffin Joe so much is because it's just like a bigger, chunkier miniature of him in his coffin still. And I love that these are unique. And to Jason, I'm like, oh man, what I need to do is play, next time somebody's over to play Zombicide 2nd Edition, I just put in like all of these guys. So that's 31 unique zombies just from this set. And then I can pull in like a bunch of unique ones from Army of the Dead. So you got all these Vegas style ones, you've got like your exotic dancers and your Elvises,
honestly,
and there's the VIPs from 1st edition. Yeah, a lot of unique stuff you could throw in there.
If you don't have any like extra minis, if you just have the core game, because 2E doesn't have like 2nd season, 3rd season, like more zombies to mix in without specifically getting that.
Mm-hmm.
They probably wouldn't be too diluted. You probably see these guys show up a good bit if you just wanted to use them as regular walkers, runners, fatties.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be fun, especially if they were all painted.
Oh, I really like One Man Band too. He's great. He's got a big old, he's got all these instruments on him and a big old bass drum off his back. The swimmer, of course, from Plants vs. Zombies is hilarious. The inner tube. And the pizza delivery guy always cracks me up.
Yeah.
The runner holding the pizza out.
It's been a while since I've seen the bare plastic, but didn't they color code these to match? Like, aren't the runners darker gray than the walkers? Or am I misremembering that?
Yes, everything is dark. The walkers are separated. I believe in this one, later on in like Marvel and DC, the fatties are a different color too. The brutes. But in this one, I think fatties and runners are both a darker gray than the walkers, and I'm pretty sure that was so you could more easily distinguish runners and walkers.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm never going to bother with the unique rules, but I just love that they're just great looking, unique miniatures, and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I almost bought a second set just because, and I almost always think about buying another second set just because, but I'm probably at peace that I don't have to. This should be fine. Nobody panic.
Send help for Ryan. He needs it.
Please send help. Okay, so let's talk about the 1st edition stuff that's air quotes compatible with the 2nd edition game. Kind of like
Well,
kind of a loaded.
What kind of air quotes are we talking here?
Loaded topic. Well, so like I was playing and I was mixing everything in, and I was like,
How everything?
I don't have. So I mixed, everything. I put in toxic.
Put in Monopoly pieces. It was crazy.
Toxic City Mall, Prison Outbreak, Room Org. So all of their enemy, all their zombie types, and all the other smaller expansions of Murder of Crows and VIPs and Losts and Dogs, and I probably covered them all.
Seekers.
Seekers.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I didn't quite go that all in. I mixed in. I actually for our book club scenario, I only mixed in reboot box stuff.
So at some point I was like, oh, what should the targeting priority be? Targeting priority order be here? And I pulled up a thing from Murder of Crows. I think it's the most complete one. It's like a big old chart of a ton of them.
A little complex. I mean, it looks worse than it is because essentially it's the same few sections, but some of them have subsections.
Yeah, so it's tricky, right? Because Zombicide First Edition is, I always get this backwards. Somebody say it so I don't have to say it wrong.
It's Survivors First.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's definitely a thing.
I think you're talking about walkers being in front of fatties.
Yeah, that's it. So first edition is walkers, fatties, runners, and second edition is fatties, walkers, runners.
Yeah.
To me, the only issue is how you treat Lost. Lost, to me, are the only ones to worry about. The rest of them pretty much fall in line.
Why don't you tell us why Lost is a problem?
Yeah, go for it.
Because Survivors were first, right, in first edition. So Lost is basically first. So is Lost first because the Survivors were first or not? To me, the intent is they're supposed to be a hit sync because they require 5 wounds. They're not damage 2, but they require 5 wounds to kill. So to me, it's where do you think the intention was supposed to be for them to be in the hit order?
I think they're pretty clearly still first because what's the alternative? That you only hit them when you miss? Like,
well, I think the alternative is they could be behind Brutes because Brutes were behind them in the previous editions. So that's what I'm saying. That's why that's the only decision.
I'd probably put them first. I didn't play with them, like I said.
Jason, are you lost when we talk about Losts?
No, I'm not lost.
Oh, good. Good. So you have, or you know of, at least of them?
I know of. Yeah.
Okay. Just because I'm gonna mansplain how Losts are. So there were Lost Zombivores. Zombivores were a thing in the first edition games. That was the worst, stupidest, stupid thing that obviously I don't like subjectively. That you could flip over your Zombicide Survivor ID card and it'd be a zombivore version of them, like a zombie hero, which to me did not work.
Zombivores are cool. Yeah. No, that's another thing of like, that's a really cool thing to have. The models were cool, but mechanically it just didn't really hit.
Mechanically, well, yeah, that too, actually. Mechanically is a problem because it made the game way, way, way too easy. And then slow too. But no, yeah, thematically is where I get all upset. Thematically, I think it's stupid that, you've taken this really cool game in this great setting, reliving your classic Zombicide modern or zombie modern stories in movie and TV and media. And then you're turning the survivors or heroes of the stories into sentient zombies that are still fighting against other zombies. It did not work for me. It never will work for me.
I thought thematically that was a cool idea.
I thought thematically it was like the literal opposite of what you're supposed to be doing here. It's like, oh, you died. Luke Skywalker died and now he's Jean-Luc Picard. Like, what the hell are we doing here? This is the very opposite of how this is supposed to work.
Really? Gandalf the Grey.
What?
My biggest problem was I didn't like the mechanics, and that was 106 miniatures I had to paint that I was never going to play with. That was my biggest problem.
And then you're better for some reason.
Well, wait, hold on, James. You had to paint them even though you were never going to play with them.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I just wanted to make sure.
The James method.
Yeah. Why would you have one painted miniature in a box next to an unpainted miniature in a box? That makes no sense. Why wouldn't they both be painted?
Because you can't dedicate that much time to painting all those things you'll never use.
I have lots of miniatures on my desk that would love to be painted.
I've never dedicated any time to painting miniatures I wouldn't use. So
basically, the best I'm ever going to get out of them is 6 of them at a time because there's 6 lost cards. They can only pull 1 of them at a time. So basically, you only ever need 6 lost miniatures. You only need 6 zombivores, and you're good.
Yeah. But you can get creative with those. Like if you had a campaign setting or you wanted to use like relatives from Night of the Living Dead or some variant of that variant in your own custom variant, you can put like I haven't painted. What have I not? Yeah, I don't think I've painted any of my zombivores / losts models, but I would like to for that opportunity. Maybe some of them. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you can use those zombivore miniatures. I say zombivore. Do you guys say it different? Because I know there's different ways to say it. Does it bother you when I say zombivore? Like I should be saying zombivore?
I think it's zombivore.
Okay.
It's weird because like it's supposed to be survivor, so I guess it'd be
zombivore.
So I guess it'd be zombivor.
I've heard people say it that way.
Zombivore sounds like something that would eat zombies.
I always thought it was zombivore, so I'm with you.
Yeah, I think
Zombivore.
I've always said zombivore, but I think zombivore is something that eats zombies. So I don't know.
So
anyway,
originally,
oh, go ahead.
We were talking about combining all the cards in though, like from the first edition stuff, right? Not just the zombivore stuff.
Yeah. So sorry, super tangent. I just wanted to make sure the audience knew what we were talking about because I feel like this is maybe the most obscure mini.
This is definitely not the episode to talk about zombivores.
It's been a long time. Losts are you're using the zombivore models as losts, and there's cards for those. They only give you 1 XP, but they have 5 hit points that you have to track cumulatively with dice or whatever. It's kind of what it says here.
That is weird.
Yeah, and they are they're in the same in first edition. They're in the same targeting priority order as survivors, which are in that first position, and that's how this whole thing started. Sorry for the super long tangent.
That's also not all they give you. You also get to take an equipment card. Thank
you. You get to search the whole deck for any equipment card you want. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's and it's kind just like just speaking of mechanical kind of flops. Just while we're on the topic, I hate having to track life in Zombicide. Like the Zombicide system is so clean and simplistic, partially because there's not that much to keep track of.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's the other reason why I wanted to bring them up too, is that they're so different in that way.
Yeah,
it's the only time that we've had to do that in a Zombicide. Well, it comes up in certain missions sometimes, that kind of thing. But
sure.
But this is just a straight up rule.
Well, the only other thing you got to track in this one that I can think of off the top of my head is the Cthulhu abomination. You got to track turns, countdown.
That's true. His little timer. Yeah,
that's true. It's not game breaking, but it is interesting that it is different. Either of those things. And it's also as far as backwards compatibility. So anyway, like, how do you guys handle the targeting priority order changes?
You go with second edition targeting priority.
Okay. So you just take like the clump of walkers and fatties and just swap them, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, there's some differences like toxics. Toxics always go above standard. So a toxic walker is going to be above standard and berserker walkers or Skinner walkers.
And berserkers are below. Yeah.
And same thing on the brutes.
I mean, I always thought that was kind of weird with toxics and berserkers because it's like common sense targeting priority. Like if you're shooting at something, you're gonna want to hit the toxics before the standards, and you're not gonna want to hit the berserkers unless you have some very specific skills. So it's weird that's like encoded into the rules because that's just I think how people would choose to do it anyway.
Mm.
Yeah, James, is that in the rules for one of the zombie cards that you get from the upgrade pack?
No, there are no rules.
Yeah, they don't give you any rules for them.
Yeah, you have to go to the PDFs on the Guillotine or Simon or Zombicide website and download the rules from the classic versions to then read what they do. Because how else would you know how the toxic thing even works or the berserker thing even works?
Another idea for future products, should any new owners happen to be watching, is a second edition season 2 where you can bring all that stuff back.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I Googled like what they do or something, but when I started playing with them, I actually never considered that the toxics would be in a different order. It was more like you pick which zombies you want to hit. Like if there's a toxic walker and a regular walkers standing next to each other, you can kind of choose which one do I want to hit. And if you're in the zone with them, you may not want to stab the toxic because it'll explode or whatever on you.
Well, if you're using melee, you can choose. This targeting priority is just for range.
But well, okay, yeah. So that example, you're right there, Schmedley. So yeah, if you're shooting them, you can choose to shoot the toxic.
Yeah.
Rather, that's the way I've been playing. I had no idea that there might be a different way, and I actually think that way works out from the times I played. It'd be pretty fun, and you don't have to overthink it. You just kind
I guess if you're shooting at range 0, that is when it matters that it's actually codified.
It absolutely matters. And if you take that away, then you take away the potency of point blank or sniper. So you don't want to diminish those skills. You want to stick with this have to kill the toxic walker before you kill a standard walker. That's kind of baked into the problem of them.
Yeah, I mean, you still have some of the the fatties have to go before the walkers and the runners and stuff. So yeah, I definitely can see how some of the skills would get be less powerful, less interesting that way. But it was just interesting that as someone who didn't know to look for that kind of thing, that it's never really been a huge problem in any of my plays. But,
that's good to hear.
But yeah, I'm learning so much just even being on this podcast, things that I didn't know I needed to know. So look at that. Ryan is recreating something as we speak.
There we go. So just for the visual for those that can see and for us as we're talking about it. So like basically we're just talking about taking, if we think the right way to do it, because there's no official word on it, right?
Nope.
Is to just take the existing targeting priority order. I got this from the Murder of Crows. I think it has everything on it. So the first edition. I'm not seeing
anything that's jumping out as missing.
Except I guess Losts, but yeah, I guess you could say Lost is not here. So it's first edition, the full 11, like this table of 11 items in the targeting priority order. Survivor, it says except shooter, and I don't understand what that means actually.
You can't hit yourself.
Oh,
except the shooter.
Okay. Because I'm thinking of shooters, right? From Fort Hendricks.
Not a thing yet.
Yeah, not a thing yet. Yeah, so Survivor, Losts also goes in that same spot of number 1. And then number 2, Toxic Walker / Murder of Crows. 3, Standard Walker / Skinner Walker. 4, Berserker Walker. 5, Toxic Fatty / Toxic Abomination. There's a 1 next to the Toxic Fatty and a 2 next to the Toxic Abomination. So I guess that means that you have to go do those in that order. 6 is shared by 4 different things. Standard Fatty, then Standard Abomination, then Skinner Fatty, then Ape Abomination. 7, Berserker Fatty, then Berserker Abomination. Wait, there's a 4 there. What do those mean? Anyway, those are like...
it looks like, there's little footnotes that are...
Footnotes. Oh, those are references to different rules. Okay. 8, Toxic Runner. 9, Standard Runner / Skinner Runner. 10, Berserker Runner. 11, Zombie Dog / Crawler.
So there's just one thing missing that I see.
Okay.
Seekers.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
But they're just supposed to be on the same level as standard walkers.
Okay. So they'd be number 3.
And in that case, James, that kind of goes to where I kind of been struggling. Like, do you get to choose then between a regular Seeker and a regular Walker? Is that kind of when they're on the same level?
Yeah, it even says that in the second edition rulebook, that if there's enemy types on the same level, you get to choose.
Okay. I mean, it's basically the same as, like, you can choose which walker you attack. So
right.
Except for Toxic.
Except for Toxics and Berserkers, yeah.
So if you want to basically go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to leave Sleepy Joe in the Coffin Joe, in the I said Sleepy Joe. I meant Coffin Joe.
That's a different guy, yeah.
I think he's in Undead or Alive.
I meant Coffin Joe from you could leave that guy on the board because he's so cool looking, like you guys were pointing out. I must be getting tired or something.
Yeah. All right, so there's the list. So yeah, one way to do it is to just swap the fatty group and the walker group, and then you can just do that. Or another way to do it.
I think that's probably the closest interpretation to rules as written. I'd call that the most faithful, is to just swap the whole blocks. But obviously, we don't have like a real rules as written for this.
Right. Or you could do it. I would actually, this crossed my mind just yesterday, Jason, what you said, which is like, how about I just say that all the fatties and then are all one, targeting priority number, and then all the walkers are the other one, and all the runners the other one. But James, you did just point out like where that can kind of break down and ruin some abilities and stuff. But
well, it also brings up the fact, and I think I brought this up in the first episode, the point about the abominations and brutes being on the same level, and people worrying about, well, can I get to the brutes if the abomination's there? That's why the cop has his special rule of he's first in targeting priority. He hides brutes, whereas normal abominations don't hide brutes.
Yeah.
So there's a reason to keep to this order, because there's other rules that come into play.
Yeah.
What do you do about Lost?
Right. I think
It's the only one that's broken. It's the only one that's broken, which makes sense because zombivores were broken anyway. So, heck with them.
I mean, I think it makes sense if they're first, because they still have the cumulative damage, so that if you put them, behind other stuff, then that makes them too difficult to probably deal with in the spirit of what they had done the first time around.
It was a joke earlier, but I do think it's funny if you want to be completely faithful to that. You can only hit Losts if you miss, because they're survivors.
That is funny.
That's a great idea.
When it comes to zombie types, now I can't wait for you guys to get into the White Death set. And if you combine everything that exists for the fantasy line, what kind of crazy cheat sheet
I'd love to do like a lot of special zombie types are shared across versions, but not all of them are. So I'd love to see like a mega zombicide where you just mix all the zombies together and see what kind of like I want to see like how do you handle when silly walkers run into the broodmother?
Yeah, run into driller hunters, right? Or driller. Yeah. Yeah.
You get the terracotta walkers in there, and they just keep
Hey, that's terracotta. Make sure you pronounce that R.
Terror. Yeah, that's right. All right. So James, are you going to make this new targeting priority order list for us to put on zombiesideFans.com?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Aware of the Laska.
Yeah.
No, but I think the overall point, though, I think we were kind of starting off with is that, in my opinion, everything from the classic Zombicide works just fine with second edition. All you got to do is play it one way. It doesn't matter if you put Lost first or last. Just be consistent about it. The equipment cards, if you want to play with your old equipment cards, there's nothing wrong with playing with those. There's nothing broken about them. They work. VIPs. Yeah. That's a good one as well. So, I mean, really, everything does work, which I just absolutely love that they were able to do that and include, for the most part, your dog companions, your companion cards from Angry Neighbors, all the stuff that they included that you can still, if you painted a miniature, it's not going to go to waste, except for Zombivores.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, obviously, that the old equipment cards still have the old backs to them, and they don't blend in perfectly with your new cards. But you can shuffle them in and shuffle from the bottom, or just not care about it, or get opaque sleeves made by the only person in the world who offers those is linkstergames.com. Go there, get some sleeves, free advertisement. You're welcome, John Ling.
And he's a cool guy. He deserves it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And cool. So that's
the gnashing of teeth about card backs being different has never been a thing for me, because who cares? You still don't know what you're pulling. You can still pull an awe card.
I mean, it's not like we're gambling on it, where like it matters if there's a higher likelihood of getting a chainsaw or a kukri. You can't change what's going to come up. So,
right.
All right. That's what I had for like first edition to second edition.
Are you sure we can't talk for like 3 more hours about targeting priority?
I think we should actually.
So this was the first Kickstarter that they introduced an RPG game. So that was kind of notable. Also the campaign system, which we already talked about, and then the miniature travel version of the game. So it's kind of like they came up with, different games within this one, which made this kind of unique. And then two very notable subtractions from this Kickstarter were no guest artist boxes.
Right.
In Green Horde and in Black Plague, and then the previous couple of Zombicides, we had a lot of those, and there wasn't a single one in this one.
I am thankful.
And then one of the biggest ones that I scratched my head over, because this is kind of a reboot of the whole system, is no plastic tokens.
No 3D doors either.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
The miss there.
Right. So I was never a fan of the special guest boxes, the artist boxes. Like, nothing against the artists. The artists are great. But it just felt like so much bloat to me of.
No, yeah, they're all very cool, but I have plenty of characters.
Yeah,
Survivors is like the thing I need the least of.
Yeah, I'm not excited by hundreds and hundreds of characters. Honestly, at the end of the day, I've talked about this before, but so I'm glad that those didn't make an appearance here. But I am sad that we didn't get like 3D stuff. We got 3D cars finally, which are amazing. Yeah. I got 2 sets of those. I kind of wish I had got more sets
on the
of
character pack things. I mean, we've talked about it before, but like second edition, you can even see it in this Kickstarter. Like right away, they knew they were kind of pivoting from extra survivors being what sells expansions to extra abominations being what sells expansions. And I think that's this setting is better for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you just want to talk about the evolution of characters, just specifically to Zombicide Modern, Season 1, we saw 16 characters, which people were complaining back then that was too many. At Season 2, you had 38 characters with 54 Zombivore miniatures. Season 3, you had 54 characters with 44 Zombivore miniatures. And then you would get a further 16 characters. So that basically comes up to 124 characters plus 106 Zombivores for 230 miniatures. In second edition, you had 84 survivors. And then after that, you would get 91 for a total of 175. So you're looking at least 299 characters with 106 Zombivores for 405 miniatures. That's a lot of characters to paint.
That is epic. Thank you, James, so much for those numbers. I love that. So 299 survivors, right, is what you said? 299
survivors with 106 Zombivores that you have to paint.
Yeah, right.
I don't.
Good.
I don't have to worry about having unpainted miniatures next to painted miniatures. But yeah, I always forget the exact numbers. That's so many.
Do you know if that's the most in any given setting?
I don't, but I would say before White Death it clearly was, but with White Death I don't know.
Oh, because now there's 3 full games in that one, yeah. Oh, and they have all those character packs.
Yeah.
My guess probably would have been Marvel. I totally forgot about White Death. Just because Marvel, all the abominations do double duty.
I do think it's funny that in every single Kickstarter, if you go through the comments, every single one from the very beginning, people complain about how many survivors are. And guess what? The count only went up, guys. You're complaining had no difference.
Even in their other games, like if you watch like the daily unlocks in Cthulhu Death May Die most recently, every time it was a character, they're like, why not more monsters? And it's like, well, everything, maybe these are easier.
Yeah. That's funny. I would never complain about there being too many survivors. What are you talking about?
I'm not like
I would never do it publicly anyway, right?
I don't think there are too many. It's funny there are so many, but like an expansion of just survivors isn't gonna get me to buy it. You know, I have enough. I won't say no to more if there's also other stuff in there, but.
You can also see, to your point, Schmedley, about abominations. In 3 Kickstarters, we got 3 different abominations. I mean, we got a couple of different sculpts for the same ones, but we got, I guess technically 4. We got 4 different abomination types. And in this Kickstarter, we got 18 different abominations. So they definitely took a page of, let's make some cool, more new monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's definitely like, I don't know if it was intentionally because like character packs undersold. From what I have seen, like I said, I don't keep track of them, but they do tend to be lower rated than the more modern expansions, those old character packs. Lost Survivors or set number 2 or whatever. Ultimate Survivors number 1. That's the one I have.
So how do you?
And if those 18 weren't enough from you, since the Kickstarter, they've put out 47 new abomination types.
Yeah, it's a very abomination-y game.
47 more abominations.
47? Wow.
Yeah.
Is that's probably still not as many as Marvel, but that's again cheating.
Yeah.
So
that became their version of the Zombivore.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you guys feel about their abominations being not at all zombie abominations for a lot of these?
So yeah, they like the core games very zombish. But like immediately when you get to the reboot box, it's just dropped. We got Slenderman, we got Cthulhu. They're not even pretending this alien is an abomination, is a zombie. There are some. I mean, there's the Greenwich Crew, and that's it. The Mummy, I guess. Yeah. The Mummy.
Yeah, the Mummy.
I love it because it expands the universe so much. Obviously, they took a page, a bit from Black Plague and Green Horde because they started veering off the, undead or zombie aesthetic to make some different monsters. And this, to me, just kind of showed that they had the idea that we can go anywhere with this game. It doesn't have to just be the undead. This can be any monster from your nightmare or whatever. And so I really appreciate that.
It's something we saw like taken to the extreme in White Death too, which was some people's, because there are people who just play fantasy, first exposure to this kind of like new outlook on abominations, because a lot of the abominations have like zero hint of zombies, and it's just like, here's a deity. And there were comments being like, why aren't they zombies?
I think from my standpoint, it was one of the things that initially kind of turned me off to Zombicide Second Edition. I didn't think I'd like it because I was like, what is going on? Why is Cthulhu in this game? I don't understand. But I think it's grown on me with time, seeing all the crazy things. We talked about this a bit on a previous episode, but just the expansions, just the wild things, whether it's Ghostbusters or the Batman Metal Packs or Monty Python. I mean, talk about a way to create it, all the silliness and just throw it all together.
It's so much fun.
You can pull out ones if you're like, I don't really want to see Cthulhu today or whatever. You're not going to miss it for a minute. You can kind of vary it. Like Ryan was saying, I think before we were recording, that like he keeps certain things in the boxes to keep it fresh. I mean, talk about a system where you can keep things fresh. Zombicide does that for you. You could make your game a little less silly if you want and put certain abominations in there. Or you can go time travel crazy and make it seem like universes are truly colliding.
Yeah, I feel a lot of different ways about this now. But certainly at first I did not like it. I did not like that we were getting like the immersion's just breaking because we're getting goofy shit.
Oh, that's interesting. This is another case where immediately I liked it. I disagree with you there. Unlike with Zombivores, I still like it, but so
yeah, like thematically, I have a tendency to want to keep the immersion and the thematic sound, keep it up for it being very much a realistic world with survivors and zombies, and zombie birds and zombie dogs, like that all still makes sense. Those are still feel like they're set in like grounded rules of kind of what we know and what makes sense from a game like this. But like, why is there this incredibly powerful demon dog? Why is Cthulhu here? Like, what? Lanky Man and like,
at least in this one, in the reboot box. Obviously, when we get to like the brand expansions, it's a little weirder.
And then it gets even weirder.
But at least in this one, it's still like monsters that would prey on humans, even if it's weird that they're like on the zombie side, they won't attack each other. At least it's still like, okay, like an alien showed up. It makes sense that would also attack us,
Right. Yeah.
I really wish they would do like a pack, kind of like I think they did for Undead or Alive, where there's like a lot of different kind of animals, like a bear and that kind of thing. And like do it and then put the cards for Undead or Alive, for the fantasy, for second edition. Like a zombie animal would show up in any of these universes on Earth. So why not just have it so that people can have whatever they want?
Yeah.
I would love like a one-off like time traveling zombie that shows up in any of them. Have like a Doctor Who pack, but they would you get
One of these days, I'm going to make a Doctor Who like player character for like any and every dungeon crawl style game I can get my hands on. That'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd
anyway,
be funny.
Yeah, so like I don't like I kind of don't like it still thematically. I don't want it, but it's here and it's good for the game. It's good to keep the game, like the variety and the spice up. So I'll use them and I'll play them and I have them. And, you know, me and my friends around the table can laugh and have a fun time. And that's what we're here for, is to have fun. Right. So like,
I think it's inseparable. I think Wacky Abominations is the identity of second edition.
Now it is. Yeah. Yeah. Now it is. And,
absolutely.
And I just, you know, I'm like, okay, it's cheeky. We're having fun. I'm not to take it too seriously. Get over myself, you know, like it's going to be okay. And, you know, having fun with that, like it still is going to always bother me a little bit that this immersion is breaking, but like, this game isn't real serious anyway. Like at the end of the day, right? This is just a fun dice chucking time. So, get over myself, and like, it's still going to bother me a little bit, but I think it's overall probably good for the game because it's definitely more exciting than, you know, an abomination, a toxic abomination, and a Skinner abomination. That's it. And end of story. You know, like it's better than just that limited variety. And like, what else are you like? Also, like, what else are you gonna do here? You know, we talked about some other ideas, but this is how they're doing it, and this is.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot easier to pump out variety like this than it is to start like just keep making new zombie horde types. As much fun as it is to have new zombie horde types. But it's just this is much easier and it adds a lot of variety, and there's much more design space because I feel like they pretty much used up most of the big ideas for new zombie types in the first 2 times they did it. So
yeah, well, like they could have done the Resident Evil thing, which is just like more monstrosities, more mutations of things.
Yeah.
Like
they could have gone that route. That's kind of where the direction Invader went, where they're all very on theme, but they still were kind of starting to get weird with it.
Yeah, but I can imagine.
The other thing.
Go ahead.
The other thing too is if you were complaining about the lack of design difference in the 4 abominations that are in the core box, I mean, how are you going to come up with 14 more variations of that look? You know, just so you can have different rules. I mean, in the end, all these things are big bosses. You know, you can remove the word abomination out of there. They're just the big bads that you have to defeat, right?
It is a weird choice to go like.
Do we need 18 versions of, Patient Zero? I don't think so.
I'm wondering if they kind of predicted like people might feel the way Ryan did, and that's why they made it. It's such a weird choice for like it's night and day the design of the core box abominations and these ones, even though they were both immediately there. That's why it kind of feels like the first time you play second edition, you're like, oh, maybe it like gets weirder as you go. But no, they were all there. It's just they decided to put all the most boring zombie-ish ones in the core box.
All right, looking at the campaign, I think. Did we cover about everything? There's the zombie soldier set. Do you guys play with zombie soldiers in your games?
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't done Fort Hendricks, so I'm not even quite sure how they work. I haven't shuffled them in or anything.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about those is it's not that I 100% regret the purchase because it's $12, but it's definitely a purchase that you did not need to make. The 6 that come in the Fort Hendricks box are plenty. You didn't need the extra ones. I bought them because I hate running out of miniatures and losing because I run out of miniatures. So that's why I bought them. But after playing Fort Hendricks numerous times, you don't really need them.
How many times?
They come out one at a time. So.
Oh, do they?
I did buy an extra box, but I agree with James. Like, you haven't needed them. I will say that I've been working. I got some of the Berserker ones, the prison guys, painting them up with prison outfits, and I got another set of these guys, and I'm painting them up like a SWAT team because I want to make a sweet like Arkham kind of vibe when Deceased shows up. So I'm going to try to use some.
That's a pretty cool idea. I like that.
Yeah,
smart.
That's cool.
Love that. Yeah, how does
some guys who aren't clowns?
I was just going to ask how does zombie soldiers work again, but we talked about it last time, didn't we? And there's like You put every card, whether they're on it or not, has like a symbol indicating that the zombie soldiers get to shoot, and then they shoot when that card comes out. That's right.
Yeah,
Then
we can
also-
get into that in the Fort Hendricks episode.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on like making that as a mechanic in the cards, but yeah, we can. I'm sure we'll talk about it.
I will say I do like the all-out dice. Right up until they got to Paris, where they seem to have completely gone off the rails and made the all-out dice look different. But the all-out dice look a little less like, at least how it appears on my screen. They're a little bit more of a deeper red, and they're really readable. If you get confused with the zombie head versus the Molotov, the nice thing about these is that the only one that has a special symbol is the one, and it's breaking. So they're a nice set of dice to use if, and you can get them pretty cheap nowadays. So
I think for what the all-out dice are, they almost need a special symbol for one. Like, I don't even think just to make it different, because to remind you that these are the only ones that matter if they roll a 1.
I approve of these dice.
James approved.
It's because they have one symbol only, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Their 5 sides are blank.
Yeah, the render here on the Kickstarter page is they're bright red like the other dice. So they just didn't know that they were doing dark red by then. At this point, I'm guessing, or they got the color wrong. Okay,
or they're getting the color wrong right up until Paris, and then they went, "Wait a minute, we should make them different for once."
Yeah.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Jason, because the number one complaint I hear about the components there is that the cards don't have the advanced backs on them.
Oh.
I haven't played with the Paras yet, so I haven't really dove into all the different components. But the dice were just a standout thing to me. I was like, "Whoa, they're different."
Anybody have any thoughts on like the zombies and companions upgrade kits? Like any of the cards that are come in those kits?
Specific cards. I was like, we talked about it more or less last time when talking about expansions.
Yeah, I just mean the cards themselves.
Yeah, specific cards, not really.
The only thing I would
dogs.
say is I could see where people would complain that they, for whatever reason, they decided to completely get rid of the crawler cards. So in the Season 3 Rue Morgue upgrade pack, they completely got rid of the crawler spawn cards. And I'm not 100% sure why.
Huh.
Because if people were playing without hospital beds, they could have just taken them out of their deck, but then still had them if they were playing on the tiles that had hospital beds. So that's a head scratcher for me.
Interesting. I guess that they were, because they didn't actually make the missions backwards compatible or forward compatible.
No, not at all.
So I guess they were like, no, you could just use your miniatures and then your whatever, your ones on your Skinners will just turn into crawlers and you're covered there, I guess. Interesting. Yeah, and I think the cards look great. The updated design is awesome. Just the aesthetic and the way the graphics are presented, and it just feels really fresh. I really, really like the design on these cards. And of course, they've upped the numbers. They've upped the ante on the numbers of spawns for all of the for a lot of the zombies on those cards. So that's good.
Which is a real problem if you're playing Rue Morgue. So if you're playing Rue Morgue, Rue Morgue was designed. Their cards were designed on a set of having 8 brutes, but the cards are still set up for 14 to 16 brutes.
Oh no!
So you're going to get brute extra activations a lot unless you own extra sets of Skinners.
Oh geez, yeah, that is a problem. They did not balance that right then, did they?
No, but hey, that just adds to the fun.
There you go.
Hey, all right.
If anyone has extra sets of Skinners and they would like to donate them to a poor Zombicide fan, please hit me up. I would like.
If anyone has a spare copy of Rue Morgue and wants to donate it to another one,
right.
Hit me up. Yeah, while we're asking for stuff.
I just want a piece of pizza.
Nice. So due to the changes with Zombicide being with Asmodee now and the uncertainty of its future, and if you're really collecting and you want to get everything for second edition, beyond this Kickstarter, we have a little list here. There were Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles packs that are severely overpriced already in the secondary market. There's some Ghostbusters sets. There's a bunch of sets for The Boys, the comics / TV show. There's a Monty Python set and like a special exclusive pre-order smaller set that you can get to go with that. There's a bunch of Iron Maiden packs that have, what are they called?
Eddies.
Eddies, yeah, tons of Eddies, but like they're cross compatible with a bunch of different games. Would you call that cross compatible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dark Knight's Metal that are second edition technically, and then also there was like a print and play that you can plug those into Deceased or Marvel Zombies too. There are 2 more retail campaign expansions, Rio de Janeiro and Paris. Paris is the official latest, I guess. Oh God, the official last CMON retail product.
I suppose. Yeah.
Sad. The comic book extras volume 1 and comic book extras volume 2. There's a very small sort of comic book extras volume 2 spinoff of the Dust cross-compatible miniatures for a Dust game that has never came out, maybe never will. Sad.
Yeah, that caused some controversy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew. I think that's it. I think that's all the stuff. Was there anything that I missed?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just kind of went through that. I just kind of like jammed through that list really quick. If there's anything anybody really wanted to say about any of that stuff, now is the time. But otherwise, we can move on.
I mean, it's all very fun. Outside of the campaigns, which are more kind of grounded, like the core box, it just all adds to that vibe I was talking about earlier, where this is the silly Zombicide where everything happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say too, outside of the campaign boxes, which to me should be a no-brainer. If you like the other 2 campaign boxes, you're going to like these 2. Then if you like the IP from any of these other boxes, get them. And if you don't.
All right, let's move on to our book club mission. We had another book club mission for Zombicide 2nd Edition Kickstarter experiences, so we can compare and contrast our experiences with these games. I unfortunately broke the rules and I messed up and I made the game harder than it needed to be by playing the wrong one. Apologies.
Hey, all right.
You always find some new way to make it hard on yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
Always.
That's a new one.
Yeah. Aha, gotcha. So, somebody commented in one of our YouTube video of the podcast recently. Be like, Ryan always finds a way to make the game a little harder for himself.
Yeah, Schmedley and I have a running bet on what you're going to do, and that one didn't make the board. So.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, we didn't expect like just pull out Undead or Alive and play that instead.
That wasn't on the board, so our bet is a push. We'll see what happens next time.
So funny, and I messaged you like last minute, and be like, "Oh, what's the mission? I gotta get it played." Ay. Okay.
Yeah, you asked what the mission was, and then still played the wrong mission.
And still proceeded to play the wrong one.
Send help.
Right.
Send help.
That's so funny. All right, so the mission is M19, Best Friends Forever. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. All right. Jason, would you like to read the story?
I will try. It's
Can
a
you
little
see
small on my
this?
screen. So
Let me expand it more.
okay, that helps.
Nance.
The temperatures are getting colder and we'll need a greater amount of supplies to survive the coming nights. We already plundered this place and need to take another deeper look. The surroundings are crowded with zombies and we won't be left alone for long. But we have a secret weapons. We came in numbers with friends to double check for goods while we purge the district. There is a catch though. They agreed to come if we let them take part of the body count. It means that at some point I'll have to hand over my gear and my gun. Life is tough. Sometimes.
Nice. All right. So in this mission, it looks like the objectives. Get a second look. The game is won as soon as both of these objectives are met. Every survivor duo, see special rules, has swapped roles. There's a pimp weapon on each survivor dashboard up to the number of available pimp weapons. So without me like sitting here reading all of this, since I don't know how this mission works at all, what's the survivor duo thing about?
So basically, you had two survivors, and at the start, one of them was the companion, and the other was the survivor. And then midway through, they'd swap roles. By midway through, I believe you had to pick when you picked up an objective. When you picked up an objective, they'd swap roles, and you had to be at least yellow to pick up an objective. So, but I mean, and James, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Does it matter who's the companion and who's the survivor? And like, if none of my survivor duos made it to orange before swapping, and I think they're essentially the same until they hit orange, no matter who's in the pilot seat.
Well, so the only real rules that matter as far as how you'd want to set up your teams, if you care about rules and tactics, is what blue skill you want to have, right? Because that's all the companion gives you is their blue skill. So take, for instance, you had somebody that had shove at blue and somebody that had slippery at blue. When they swap, it's not going to matter. It's not until you go orange that it would really matter, because then the skill tree obviously would change.
Because I was looking through, I read through the rules. I tried to find like if I was missing something, because like I said, none of my duos made it to orange before swapping. Yeah,
and then tactically, it's going to be a wash.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you make the companion the one whose orange skills you want. But other than that, the characters, it was the same as if there was no swapping and you just started reversed.
Right. The only thing that would get a little bit weird on is if you, say, started with a kid, then swapped to an adult, or swapped to a kid.
There's only two kids and they were on a team. So.
Right. And so if you just want to keep it easy, that's what you do, is you just keep two kids together or two adults together. That kind of thing.
All right. It seemed like the kind of thing where I might be missing something, because it seemed like it didn't matter enough to have this whole rule about it. But
essentially, this mission felt like the Mario Kart Double Dash of Zombicide.
I like that description. I mean, yeah, anything worth noting? Not a whole lot on my side. I can briefly go over what I did. We did open all of the buildings while we were blue, and then regretted it, because that would have helped. Once somebody was yellow, that would have helped everybody else get to yellow. But other than that, it was pretty standard. We all got to yellow. We all got our things. The second to last, we were in the bottom building. The second to last pimp weapon was which means we were just, or the last one was, well, I guess second to last. So we were about to finish it. We're like, this is the last turn, and then we had to play another round so that they could go get the other one in that building. So everybody would have a pimp weapon. So that was a little unfortunate. But other than that, what about you, James? Anything worth noting?
For us, basically our whole idea here was we didn't look at skills. We completely looked at theming up the people together. So to me, this was the perfect time to get your Penn and Teller out. If there was two musicians you liked, then those guys themed up together. And this brought up one team that actually brought up a rule that I was glad that we read, because there was a combination that we could not do. So we really wanted to do Her Majesty and Churchill, but the Prime Minister. But you cannot do that, because a companion cannot have starting plus health.
Right.
That's in the rules. And so I'm glad that we reread that rule, and we were like, okay, we can't do that. So who did the Queen like? The Queen liked Ronald Reagan in real life. So we put, President, whatever number, in there as her companion instead of the Prime Minister. So with our thematic couples, we went around, and there was only two things that kind of happened of interest. One, you find out real quick that first person that goes yellow, and then they take an objective, and then they jump up to 12 points, and now they have 4 actions to go around and kill zombies, while all the rest of the teams are still trying to get to yellow, and it's hard for them to, because they can't take objectives. So you really can shoot up to orange real quick while you still got people struggling to get yellow. And that kind of happened to us. We had to have some people like hold off and not do anything, just so the other people could have zombies to kill and get up to yellow so they could take their objectives and swap. And then there was a time when we had 4 different abominations on the board at a time. And that was kind of harrowing, because one of them was the black dog. And I just kept thinking the first couple of turns, for the most part, seemed so easy. But then there was 2 or 3 turns where it was nail biting, because it was 1 wound and we're dead. So that was interesting. But all in all, we ended up winning. obviously, not taking any wounds. We even had a kid team with Macaulay Culkin's character and the girl from Poltergeist, apparently's character. And they were actually a pretty fun duo because, she gets damaged too at blue and he gets improvised. Can't remember. I think it's improvised range, which also brought up another interesting rule question. The back of his card is printed incorrectly versus the rule in the rule book. So you need to pay attention to what the stats are in improvised range when playing that. But
so the stats are different between the book and the card? Yes.
Whoa. And I can't remember which is which. Sorry, I can't remember if one's 2 out of 4 plus and the other one's 3 out of 4 plus. I can't remember which one is
something like that before.
But other than that, it was a fun, easy, quick mission. It was fun to find pairs that we like to play together. And once again, just, read up on those companion rules and make sure that we're playing them correctly. Jason?
Yeah, so for me, I noticed that, I think similar to what you were saying, James, like it was hard to get everyone up into yellow. I didn't realize until playing this mission how essential objective tokens were when they give you 5 XP, which is kind of a standard thing, like how helpful that is in the early game, especially to kind of boost people up.
Yeah.
So I really, again, they appreciate that from kind of your standard missions. But I was looking through, I took a picture of all of our pairs together. We definitely picked people from the Chronicles pack, the reboot box, etc. That ones that were fun, even from one of the campaign expansions. A lot of field medic and escalation and all the best skills: hit and run, scavenger, melee with extra damage, charge, shove. Just the most craziest good blue skills that you could possibly think of. So that was super helpful and super fun to have those kind of fun teams. Made me realize too how clinch that field medic skill can come into play too, where it just gives you extra movement plus healing somebody, which is super fun. So yeah, there was a number of weeks back when we played this one, so I don't remember. I didn't have any crazy stories this time from what happened, other than people limping along. People limping along in blue, trying to figure out how to get a few more kills in. So, good time. And I'm actually coming to appreciate smaller maps. For the longest time, I've been a huge 3x3 fan. I just love the big maps.
I was kind of there for a while. I'm with you on that one. I really like the bigger ones, but yeah, occasionally a 4x4 can be really sick or really difficult, depending on.
Right. This one's a 2x3. I was like,
yeah.
It's a nice size. I was like, you know what? I've kind of overlooked the smaller maps because I just like to go big. So I was like, you know what? These can be really fun. They're enjoyable. So that was kind of fun too.
It's always so.
What did you do for the mission, Ryan?
Well, I did nothing. I played a different mission altogether. No, just about the map layout. I love, man, I freaking love the way, especially modern setting, how the board comes together and how the streets can can circle around and zigzag, and how just the shape is so pleasing to see that puzzle come together. I don't know. It tickles my fancy. I really like it. I really like the way that these boards look when you put the tiles together. It's like magic.
Yeah, they did a very good job.
Yeah. I was curious, did any of you guys find this mission to be just really easy?
I mean, you start with 2 blue skills, which if you I chose based on characters who I thought skills would work well together. I have Lil Will and Wanda right here as one of my pairs for a free move action plus sprint. And that probably made it easier. I certainly do think the inability to get objectives at blue does make it harder to reach yellow. And like I said, we weren't doing ourselves favors by opening all the buildings. Normally that's standard practice, but by opening the buildings early.
Yeah.
Again, this game was easy until it wasn't. This game was really, really easy until the black dog showed up. And then there's just no margin for error. Every single time you end one zone away from a zombie, or even 1 or 2 zones away from a runner, you're one bad card pull from the game ending. You think you've got it well in hand. You know that you only need a turn or 2 to finish, and there's really nothing that can stop you. But that one bad card pull, because the black dog's on the board, just really changes things. for how it's going to go. Like, I honestly, I can't remember exactly how many turns we played, but there was a time when I was like, okay, we're going to win the next turn. And then I saw the setup and I'm like, you know what? We're about to lose this game, So, kind of one of those toss ups. I don't know.
Yeah. I forgot. Yeah. I guess starting with Schmedley, like, what did you put in your spawn deck and your equipment deck?
So I did, like I said before, I didn't mix in everything because this was the Kickstarter episode. I wanted to use the Kickstarter stuff. I guess I could have used Urban Abominations also, but I just did Core Box and Reboot Box, which was plenty of stuff. Also all the survivors, I gave my group options. We still had some of the Core Box. Like I said, Wanda was there. But there's more pimp weapons. There's more abominations. I don't think there's any more zombies that aren't abominations. But still it was way more content. But I didn't go all in, all crazy with it. Like I think you said you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was standard equipment deck with the addition of the Reboot Box epic weapons, standard zombie deck, and only addition is all the all the abominations that were included in the Kickstarter in the abomination pool. So that's all I had. I didn't add in any additional zombie types. Jason?
For me, I did my usual. I do toxics, dogs. I have the shooter deck. I do the all-out weapon decks for all the different weapons. And I had the whole slew of abominations. I'd actually at one point pulled out a bunch of like the superhero ones, the Dark Knight ones, because they felt kind of jarring. But I've again come to embrace the chaos that Zombicide Second Edition throws at me, and I've shuffled those back in, and now I've got the Eddie's more recent purchase that is finished painting up.
You can tell who's truly embraced the chaos by if they use Monty Python or not.
Well, and those are sitting on the desk waiting to get painted. So like,
fair. I accept this excuse.
Even though you don't paint, I appreciate that you feel for those of us who do. So, but I can't imagine putting Seekers, like the whole spread. That would just be so many different types of zombies.
I would. I love playing like super chaotic second edition with toxics and berserkers. I don't usually shuffle Seekers in. I just feel like, and I wanted to ask you this about shooters. Just if you have a huge standard deck, I feel like mechanics that rely on certain cards being drawn more than once after zombies are already on the board, they just kind of don't work as well. They get diluted, like Seekers. And I was going to ask, do you feel like that happens with shooters when you add the dogs and all that other stuff?
I think because the shooters, they come like with another group. I think, you spawn them with other cards. That helps them. They're just kind of spread out. They're just like a little extra flavor.
Right.
I know everyone says for the fantasy that the skeleton shooter zombies are like some of the best ones in the game to add. And so I do think that they kind of add a similar thing, though there's not going to ever be like a group of 4 of them, or anything like that. So it's definitely becomes a little interesting. And if you're shooting into a set of walkers that happens to be, have a shooter in there, the first one you want to take out is a shooter because he can actually hit you.
Well, yeah, I just mentioned like that. That means they shoot less, doesn't it? If you dilute the cards with more, if you dilute the deck with more cards that don't have the symbols.
Yeah, you're right. That I think if you're playing it by those rules, not without any house rules, then yeah, that would be true.
Right.
I think it's good and bad, honestly. Like, because if you're playing with just like a standard deck and you only throw shooters in, or you only throw Seekers in, you get an idea for the rhythm and the timing. You have an expectation of sort of when you might see those more often. Therefore, you can sort of plan and be more careful around that, or your positioning and all of that. But if it's so random that you have no idea, like that, kind of terrifying. Like, you're just like, you're not ready, and then bam, you get hit by it.
Maybe less so for the shooters, because since like a lot of cards in that deck let them do something. But for Seekers, I don't know. I feel like eventually they never do anything.
This is so
If you
weird how
dilute
you
it
and I
too
have
much.
like completely opposite experiences with Seekers. We talked about this in
we've never
Zombicide
been.
Invader. I still hold true for me in my experiences that Seekers are friggin' terrifying because you don't know when they're coming.
Maybe I just have good Seeker luck because even in Invader, I feel like they've gotten extra activations like a handful of times in my entire Invader career. So
Yeah.
It's Invader career.
For me, it's kind of like Seekers are. For anybody who doesn't know exactly what Seekers do that's listening,
that's a good point.
yeah, whenever you draw a Seeker card, you activate all of the Seekers that are already on the board. Is it before you spawn those new Seekers or after, or is it just the same timing?
I don't think it matters. Yeah.
Yeah, timing maybe doesn't matter, but yeah, you activate all Seekers on the board while you spawn these new Seekers. And to me, that's the same as like, don't end your turn next to a spawn zone. Don't end your turn next to any Seekers because you never know, or especially not in a zone of Seekers. So that's why they're terrifying to me, and they come up more often than I want them to. It's like, oh, that was too close of a call, because it could happen again. The next card. You never know.
Maybe I should put more Seekers decks, more Seeker cards in my
Maybe
Invader deck.
Okay, so for my book club mission, my own personal book club mission, I played M15 United We Stand. Yeah. And in this mission, you start with, I think, did we actually go over this mission, Jason? You actually went over this whole mission last time.
I think Jason did it last time, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, you should talk about your experience though, Ryan.
Yeah. Just real quick to refresh on how this one works. There's 6 starting zones that are spread all across this big 3x3 or 9 tile mission. And among the 6 spots, you have to put 2 survivors on each of them, which then you have to choose 3 of those spots or 3 of those 2 survivor groups to be the ones that you'll actually be your player characters, and then the other 3 will be companions that you have to rescue as part of your objectives to win the game. So you have to get those guys, and you have to. There's a building in the upper right corner that straddles across 2 zones or 2 tiles, 3V and 8V, that you have to get all of the pip weapon crates in that building to win. The game is lost whenever a survivor, including a companion, is eliminated. Okay, so this mission I won. It was incredibly easy. So first I played it with just survivors, like just Kickstarter survivors. I used Ozzy Osbourne, RuPaul, Miley Cyrus, Banksy, Abraham Lincoln, Childish Gambino, Her Royal Majesty, or Queen Elizabeth, going on the thing, Robin Williams, John Wick, and Ron Perlman, and Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. And so anyway, so I found this mission to be like incredibly easy. I used the standard, just the standard zombie deck, but with like the Kickstarter abominations. And it was just like in like 4 or 5 rounds, I feel like I was done. And I was like, oh, that was easy. You get, I mean, I actually started out really unlucky too. I thought, because I started in the very, the bottom middle, starting zone. Both those guys, had, the only 2 door opening weapons. They had the crowbar and the fire axe. So I had to spread them out and spread, open the doors with those guys. But yeah, because one of the sets of groups that I picked was in the really large building. That then, because of that, make sure I don't get the rules wrong. If you start in a zone that's inside a building, you don't spawn zombies in that building, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I picked the bottom 3. I think it was the bottom 3. So that I would have what I thought would be like the least amount of zombies that would spawn from buildings. And that made it incredibly easy. And then I eventually I opened the building in the upper right that I needed to get the pimp weapons from as quickly as I could. And I got to the companions as quickly as I could. And I collected all the things, and I did the things, and I don't know. Nobody got even close to yellow.
Really?
Yes. I think there was definitely some luck of the draw, but man, like, was this mission just incredibly easy? I was like, okay, let's get wacky with it. So then I played it again, same setup and strategy, except I did randomize like which survivors I got and where, but I still picked the same 3 groups just to see if that strategy would still work if I put in the deck everything from like what I'm calling from the Kickstarter, because the Kickstarter has the upgrade kits. So I was like, okay, we're throwing in all of the toxic zombies, toxic walkers, runners, fatties, Skinner, walkers, runners, fatties, and crawlers, and berserker, walkers, runners, fatties, losts. I'm looking at my list. Murder of crows. Of course, I had all the standard things, zombie dogs, and VIPs, and all of that. And it was a really wacky time. It was fun. It was fun to have that variety. And like, I had like, my table was so full, obviously, of like all these tons of trays with all these miniatures and bringing them out, and they're all different. And that's when I was going like, oh my gosh, what's the targeting priority of these things? This is crazy. But it was fun. I really enjoyed having that variety out there. The Losts, or the Seekers, I also had in there, were kind of scary, but there was a great variety of things going on that like made it fun and interesting. Also, very easy. I only had a couple of characters that got to like a low level yellow. I was like, what is going on here? So then I played it a third time, and I added 2 more spawn zones, and then it was really fun. And like, I don't know what's happening.
Did you add them just on top of the existing ones, or?
Oh, great question. I ended up putting a spawn zone between the two zone buildings in like kind of an obvious spot just on the other side. I can't really describe this just with audio, so sorry if you don't have the visual. But there
is one open street zone that kind of leads off the board that doesn't have a spawn zone on it right now. He put one there.
Perfect. And then I put the other one in the top left corner. It's quite far off, but at least it gives a little bit of threat to companions that could be parked here. And also, it's just a looming threat that could eventually come around and become a problem, or they'll go through a building if you open some doors, like here probably. So anyway, that was more fun. That caused a lot more tension, a lot more chaos. And a lot of different things coming out and different threats to have to handle, and dogs and crows kept coming up a lot. It was more fun. It was a lot more fun to add 2 friggin' more spawn zones. So I was like, this game is almost unfun how easy it is right now. And like, I don't know if I'm actually just getting better because I play Zombicide an awful lot now, thanks to this podcast. Because I did also play another one. I played before I knew what the book club mission was, so I could therefore not get it right. I also played this mission, M13, Burning Streets. And this mission I also found to be stupidly, incredibly easy, where you just have to get Molotovs, throw them at the objectives that are not the first or spawn zones that are not the first spawn zone, and then park the cars next to that spawn zone that has all 3 spawn points on it. And I just I squatted in a building and I searched until I found flashlights and Molotovs, and got in the cars and threw the Molotovs onto the spawn points, and then parked the cars, and I was done. And I was like, that was super easy. I was like, what is going on here? And it's like, is second edition really just that much easier than I remember it? Or I don't know. Does that seem wrong to anybody else? Like, this game is incredibly easy.
My group, especially for second edition, just kind of has the strategy down. So we don't often have like a whole lot of trouble playing base 2E missions like without adding extra stuff. Adding the extra abominations did a little bit. But so I can't say for sure if we added like Toxics or Berserkers, if that would make it different. But honestly, I think a lot of the 2E missions are on the easy side.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're on the easy side, and if you don't play with some of the extra abominations, especially some of the combinations that can come out, like Killer Clown coming out with Lanky Man, or Black Dog coming out with Cthulhu, or just having those random abominations come out, that can slow you down. It doesn't necessarily make it that much harder, but it definitely makes it more dangerous, where you can potentially lose games. But the other thing too to keep in mind is the more people you play with, the harder the game is going to be, because you can't control all the characters.
Yeah.
And people are going to want to do whatever they're going to want to do, even if you plan it out. And so you just can't always plan exactly how you want characters to go in order. So if you're playing by yourself, you can control all 6 players, and you can completely control it down to the die roll of what you're going to do. So playing multiple players adds a little difficulty to that as well. And as you said, Ryan, I mean, the more you play this game, no matter what version you play, you learn that for the most part, it's all the same tactics. And once you get those tactics down, then it just becomes of, whether or not you just go screw it and try something you shouldn't do.
Right.
It's going to get you in trouble, or you keep playing it tactically sound and win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, like just adding the dogs alone, I've noticed often makes the game a bit harder. And also I try to take out a few of the real low spawning cards just to kind of, because I do know Zombicide 2nd Edition can be quite easy. But then on the other hand, I always play with the all-out deck, because to me that makes the game just that much extra sweeter. But that honestly makes the game easier too. So having the opportunity to go all out gives you, almost like makes your attacks that much more potentially better. So yeah.
Gotcha.
For those of you who are listening, my cat just trying to disturb our podcast.
Just be part of it. It's like, there's no cats. There are no cats in this game. except for John Wick. He's holding a cat in this one. Okay.
Cat.
No, I appreciate hearing your perspective on it, because I'm not coming out here as a braggart. I'm not like, I'm so good at this game, it's so easy now. But like, I think there is something to be said of, as much as we play this game now, and like I am getting better, I have to be getting more skill at it. But yeah, I think James, you kind of hit it on the head, right? Which is like that plus, I have complete control over what's going on, and I'm perfectly comfortable, like when a survivor has like 1 or maybe 2 actions they can take on their turn, and the rest they just sit there, because that's the best thing to do, which is something that real humans are almost never going to do. As an example. But yeah, I've got 1 mind, and I'm controlling all 6 hands, and I'm doing exactly what needs to be done without any chaos, and that probably makes it easier. So yeah, I think I'll just be adding more spawn points to my games from now on of 2nd edition, when I'm playing it solo at least, and kind of it'd be interesting to see how it changes or not when I get those rare multiplayer games in, because I just like, wow, this is by far the easiest Zombicide to me now, and I'm starting to understand, like, Alex, who came on the show, was like, I sold 2nd edition. I was like, why? He's like, it's way too easy. I was like, really? So I'm starting to understand.
I'm always super big on modifying the ratios in the spawn deck and all that stuff. Like, I don't usually mess with mission setups, just because that way, like, if I don't, then like my group can help me set up, and it's just easier for everybody to look at the book.
Yeah. So
when I want to make things more difficult, I normally turn to the decks, since those they stay together, and I can just take them out and they're still good.
That makes sense.
But I mean, it's also a valid way to do it. Yeah, if you want to add more spawn points, go for it.
Yeah. So this is how the boys packs deals with this problem. So with the boys, you get all these added skills, and some of them are very, very powerful. So basically the idea is for every 2 soups you play, you add an extra spawn point to the board. So if you're playing with all 6 soups, then you're adding 3 extra spawn points, and it gets to be a lot. It's definitely a challenge. It feels right to me that as powerful as the boys are, those extra 3 spawn points, or however many you put in there, really are a big deal. And I think there's a lot of different ways you can go to change the difficulty level to your style of play or your collection. We were discussing this earlier, but taking miniatures out of your collection I think would be a huge way to make this game harder. You know, you get more zombies in this core box than any other one. You get 16 brutes and 16 runners, and that's more than you've ever gotten before. You know, take that down to 14 and try it out. Take that down to 12. Take that down to 10 and see what happens. See if you start getting extra activations and how easy or hard that makes, you know, your games.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, just a comment about this game versus Fantasy or Black Plague. Black Plague's easy too, and it's got all the different ways that you can make it just as hard as this game as well. It's got all the different special zombie types that you can add to the game to make it harder, and just like this one is. So, I mean, to me, they're very similar in difficulty level.
Wait, James, so you're of the opinion that Black Plague is easy?
Yes.
Wow, I have never heard that before. That is fascinating.
I mean, I'm going to put it out there. I think pretty much all of them are easy just at base. Undead or Alive being the possible exception. I haven't played it in a while. I think if you just play and you don't modify anything, all Zombicide is fairly easy.
Yeah, if you go through, Jason, and start looking at the ratios of zombies you actually draw in Black Plague at both blue and yellow, you'd be surprised at how few miniatures you actually put on the board. And the buildings, for the most part, are small, so you're not even drawing that many zombie cards. It's just not that hard of a game. You can make it difficult, just like any other version of Zombicide. So inherently, it's not a harder game.
Yeah.
I'll actually take that back. Army of the Dead can be difficult in some missions too.
Yeah. Well,
without changing anything.
And the solo mission I played of this, second edition last time was like I thought was impossible. I was like, this is literally impossible.
Lot of web missions do crank it up.
Except James said, no, you can do it. You got to do this, and it's got to be a perfect draw and a little bit of luck, and here this and that. But yeah, that's another thing I was just thinking about. Like, what if I just reduce the player count, the survivor count? What if I just try to play it as is, everything as is, except I just have.
You've done that before, yeah. If there's ever 4 people in a group, we normally each play with one character anyway, and it usually works out fine. Sometimes it's a little more touch and go.
It'd be easier to handle. Yeah,
I think it's a solution for a solo player for sure. Just because then you have less miniatures you got to worry about, less skills you got to remember, less actions you got to think about doing.
Honestly, that's how my wife and I play as well. Each play with two survivors. So
nice. Okay,
definitely recommended.
That's the thing. And that'd be great for the campaigns too, because that'd be a lot easier for me to manage solo. So okay, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I love this conversation about like, fantasy is easy too. Actually, all the zombie sets are easy too. Because I don't disagree, but there's difficulty, like how difficult is the game actually, and how what is our perception of how difficult the game or experience is, right? So like, Jason, you're surprised. You're like, wait a minute, you're saying Black Plague is easy? And I was kind of thinking the same thing, and I think it's because like there's a lot more tension in the beginning of that game than there is in like second edition. There's like no tension in the beginning of second edition almost. Yep. Dare I say
it is hard to get geared up in Black Plague just because of like the buildings are so much smaller, and like you gotta deal with you normally start outside, and and
that doesn't necessarily mean that the game is more difficult. Like if you look at your win rates, like if you look at the actual difficulty and the win rates, maybe are the same between Black Plague and second edition, maybe they're not, but like your perception of it being more difficult because there's so much more tension in the early game, I think is like much more skewed than the actual win rate difficulty, if that makes any sense. My favorite way to play is I want to throw in as many thematic enemies and zombies as I can. I'm going to leave out
only the undead.
Yeah, I'm going to leave out the Monty Pythons. Like if I want to have a funny Monty Python night with my buddies, then sure, I'll throw it in there. But otherwise,
where's the line? Like the vampire from Supernatural, does he get to stay or?
No, I haven't even opened those boxes. They're still sealed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get maybe not the vampire because he's just a guy in a suit, but like the Wendigo is kind of
we didn't talk about Supernatural packs earlier. I'm glad you mentioned that. I forgot that.
There are so many expansions.
I know, it's right.
There's a lot. It's very fun.
Supernatural, you can just drop in, and thematically, it works for me.
I think it's one of the ones that works better. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so my favorite way is to drop in very thematic, as many enemies as I feel like dealing with that day. I will throw them in because it's fun. I just love the variety. I've always loved the enemy variety in these games. It's super fun.
Some of the Batmans you could probably get away with. I think Doomsday Batman is kind of zombie-ish.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, what's your favorite way to play, Schmedley?
I mean, like I said, I fully embrace the chaos. I was born in it, molded by it. I shuffle in everything up to and including Monty Python. So, what about you, James?
So when we're trying out new things, basically what we do is we'll take a core box and we'll take nothing but what's in the core box and play through all the missions. Then we'll go back and take everything that's extra and go back in and play all those missions again with just the extra stuff. And then, like, say something like Ghostbusters comes out, we'll just take Ghostbusters plus all those abominations, go back and play through all those missions with Ghostbusters so we see how that goes. Same thing with The Boys, or Dark Knight's Metal. So basically, we try and run through all the scenarios with these extra add-ons to see how they work and how they don't, and how they mix with the different missions. Because it's hard to just play one mission with them and think that you understand how they work, because each missions have different goals and things that you have to do. It's not always just getting objectives and getting to the exit. Sometimes it includes other things. So that's typically what we do. As far as adding in extra stuff, I like to kind of theme it into, if I'm playing with crows, then I'm not playing with dogs. If I'm playing with dogs, I'm not playing with crows, because they both kind of serve that speed purpose. If I'm playing with seekers, I don't play with standards. That just doesn't seem to work. I'd rather just have seekers as my standards and then add toxics and berserkers or whatever else to them. And then we really like to do theme things. We like to say, okay, let's get all these, the boys say together and let's play those and see how they work. I think adding everything all at once tends to you don't actually understand how everything works that way, because half the time you don't see, half the stuff. And so I kind of like to keep it down to where there's a reasonable idea that within a few games, we will see every abomination type or every type of zombie type. Then that way it's a little bit more focused and we can actually see how things work and what doesn't work. So that's basically how we play. Jason?
Yeah, I think for me, I've really, I've said it before, but I've enjoyed doing the all-out weapons. And as far as the theme goes, though, I kind of had pulled out Cthulhu and some of those more crazy ones initially, because I was trying to get that, kind of like Ryan was saying earlier, get that more zombie feel to it. But more recently, especially as I was joining you guys for a few episodes, I've put in some of the more crazy stuff in there and just embraced the chaos, as it were. So that's been fun. That's kind of changed it up. But you guys are totally right. You don't see nearly as much that comes out together in those cool ways. But I think especially after adding the Eddie stuff, I think I mentioned that in a previous episode where I had the big Pharaoh guy come out, and then he spawned the Batman Who Laughs, who spawned the Robins, like all in like one turn, and it was like absolutely crazy. And some of the best stories happen with the wackiest things that you could ever imagine. So
right.
So you don't get like the Queen of England taking out Death with an RPG. It's just it's the kind of thing. It's ridiculous and amazing, and only happens here.
Right.
Yeah, we normally, what we do is when we're playing with an abomination deck is we'll take all the abominations we want to play with, usually leaving out the specialty boxes if we're playing with all the Kickstarter normal, kind of stuff. Like we're not going to mix in, say the boys as the soups as abominations along with, the normal abominations. But that usually leaves us a deck of, somewhere in the 20s, 15 to 20 different abominations. And then we'll sit down and play 3 games. And over the course of those 3 games, we'll see all those abominations. Because what we do is we just take the abomination we pull. Once we kill it, we put it at the back of the deck. And we just cycle through it like that, as opposed to say shuffle the deck between games. So then that way we're guaranteed to see all the different abominations. And it's more fun to us to have to deal with those different puzzle pieces, as opposed to, oh, look, 2 straight games in a row. We got the sewer crocodile. Yay. It's like we want to see all the abominations, and that's about the only way we can do it.
That's a really good idea. I like that idea of not shuffling that deck and just kind of letting it continue and live from game to game.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to memorize it. It's not like you're going to know, oh, we saw the sewer crocodile next. Well, here comes the killer clown. Like, nobody's sitting there memorizing the order of the deck or anything.
I feel like if you made it like decently through the second round, you might like kind of have a feel for once or twice what's next. Definitely not like the whole thing. But like if two are on the board at the same time, you might like associate them,
All right. Custom stuff and house rules. James, you've got some custom stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
This version of Zombicide is either 1A or 1B as far as how much custom stuff I've come up with versus fantasy. I previously mentioned in an earlier episode that I updated 100 classic missions to work with second edition. As well as the rules from classic to second. One of the things that I might have failed to mention earlier was I also did the same thing with all the equipment cards. I don't remember if I mentioned that or not, but all the equipment cards I updated to have both normal standard versions and advanced versions. So you can still play with your break dice with these old weapons, but with the new style. Also, I added little campaign sheets if you want to play the missions as campaigns. Then there's custom campaign sheets that have new skills on them from old classic edition that have been dropped off. Things like helicopter pilot, fast roping, skills that you would only need for those editions of the game that you wouldn't need anywhere else. The other thing is custom character cards. So I did custom character cards for the Predator characters that you can get STLs from online. There's a guy who does some really great Predator miniatures if you like that movie, or if you like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Carl Weathers. Always wanted to play him. In Zombicide, well, he makes miniatures for him. I made cards for him. As well as I am currently working on what I'm calling a grand campaign. And it's basically just links 100 missions together where you can play them in like seasons, where you can gain skills, and every 10 missions, you change out the zombie types that you play with. So you're getting different zombie types that you're playing with each game, and different abomination types, different equipment decks. And so every 10 games, those change out, so you don't get kind of bored playing against the same zombie types all the time. I'm working on that. I've got the first round done. I've played it through once, but I need to play it through again to make sure, that it works. And so playing 100 missions, takes me a little bit longer to do. Also upgraded the dog companions, and with a fellow Discord person, he came up with his own dog. So we put our heads together and came up with the dog companions with new dogs. Unfortunately, we don't have miniatures for these dogs. If there's any 3D sculptors out there that want to take this on, I would love it. I love all these dogs. I'm a big dog lover. So if you want to make any of these dogs, that would be great.
These dogs are amazing and so cute.
Yeah, aren't they? They're fun. Yeah, I like the new ones. So I came up with cards for those. And then, I've built some 3D terrain that I'm working on. I'm not quite ready to share that yet. But I love coming up with stuff for this game. This game has so much going for it. It's so easy to change and mold to whatever your purpose is. And it's a lot of fun.
Man, your stuff is like just the highest of high quality, top notch, like absolutely perfect production. Like it's from Simon. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Thank you. I do want to point out, since you're looking at it, if you're noticing that there's two different kinds of equipment cards. So basically the way I set those up is I set up 8.5 by 11 pages that you can print off yourself, whether at home or Kinko's or whatever, and chop them down and make your own cards. I also provided individual PNG files that you can upload to online card makers. There's a lot of professional card makers out there that if you upload the files, will then print off your own decks of cards. And I can tell you from experience, because I've had them made, they're beautiful. They look almost identical to, Simon's Zombicide cards. Sometimes some of the colors are a little bit off, and that's on me. That's not on the printer. That's just on the files that I work with and everything. But they still really work. They're crisp and clean. and easy to use. So if you want to invest the money on some new equipment decks, those PNG files are there for you. The other thing that I made too was I made cards for the Washington ZC and Fort Hendricks equipment cards. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but occasionally on those campaigns, you can find equipment cards. And what it normally tells you to do is to use the objective card as the equipment card. But the objective card is a larger card than an equipment card. So I made my own equipment cards to fit, so you could actually fit them in your dashboards. I did the deceased crossover character. So if you own the deceased Gothic City Knights and you want to play them in second edition, then I made the character cards, the equipment cards, and the abomination cards for those miniatures. Because if I'm going to take the time to paint them, I want to get as much playtime out of them as I can.
Incredible. Yes, if you want to get yourselves copies of all this stuff, digital copies of all this stuff, you can go to zombicidefans.com. And then can you search for FJ Player? No, unfortunately you cannot. So
it cannot be found.
I need to make that functionality a thing. So yeah, you could do first to second is what I did. And then you can find first to second edition upgrades and things. And then you can click on James's handle, FJ Player 22, to see all of his stuff specifically, to be able to see everything he mentioned here and everything. Yeah. So that's going to be great. All right, for me, I made a lot of custom stuff for Zombicide First Edition. And then when Second Edition came out, I just was kind of going a different direction, always on the move with all kinds of different projects. And of course, as I mentioned here on the show a lot, I'm always working on the all Zombicides missions and map editor. All Zombicides mission templates and map editor. Zombicide Second Edition is currently a work in progress, but by the time you hear this, it should be out and totally done. But just as a quick sneak peek, I will have all of the mission info box or key with all the components and things for all the different Second Edition stuff. I think I was just kind of finishing up with like the miniature silhouettes and all the tiles. Along with a template, not too dissimilar from, what I'm showing on screen now, but it's just basically a template. Hopefully it looks like it just came out of the book, for a mission template that you can arrange all of the components and write everything in exactly how you want it to create your own missions in the different templates. So that should be available by that time. And then, I just kind of chipping away one game at a time. All that's left in the work in progress so far here is Zombicide Second Edition, Zombicide Undead or Alive, Deceased. We're still waiting for that to come out, and Night of the Living Dead. And also I need to add White Death to this, obviously. So those are all things that I'm working on. And that thing is, slowly chipping away, but it's almost done. And then that'll help you to make any custom missions, quests, scenarios, and also be able to more easily create those missions or scenarios cross-compatible or crossover missions. That's what it's called. So yeah, check that out. That's also on zombicidefans.com. Just look up templates and you should be able to find it easily that way.
Very cool.
Jason, what do you got for custom stuff?
I have so many ideas of what I want to do, and every time I try to get some kind of Photoshop knockoff type program going, trying to find all the files, I've got so many different files downloaded on different computers. I just haven't gotten it done, and I wonder how many other Zombicide fans are out there with dreams and ambitions of custom stuff to do, but aren't quite as adventurous as Ryan and James are in actually getting it done and actually being able to pull it together. Because I even bought extra Cthulhu Death May Die cultists because I thought to myself, one of the best things that people love from the fantasy version are the necromancers. And I was like, it's not that hard to have essentially a second edition necromancer, some cult that is worshiping the zombie plague or something silly like that. And so I have this idea for cards I want to make. But it's all these things are just ideas right now. And apparently I need to put them all down somewhere and and share them with people who know how to use Photoshop and stuff like that to put them together. I actually was thinking that the giant ape that you can get with the Undead or Alive, I'm like, he would fit in the second edition, almost like a King Kong kind of a situation. I'm like, that would be a great abomination. Yeah. I mean, because there's not enough abominations in second edition. I think we all can agree that is the case. So, what's one more? That would be great. But no, for me, most of my custom stuff is just about modifying what's already there, taking out some of the zombie cards that are a little bit lower, adding in the dogs and wolves, much to my wife's chagrin, in every single mission we play, always playing with the all-out weapons. I like the toxic ones. I actually was most recently modifying it. I realized that the toxic fatties, they're, if you get them from those smaller packs, they only come with 4. And I was like, that's not a lot to deal with. And I was like, it might be nice to have a little bit less. So I'm like trying things out. I'm like, take the toxic fatties out, and we're, keeping the runners and the walkers in, just trying to fine tune the deck to that point. I'm actually thinking I'm going to take James' idea. I'm going to start limiting down some of the miniatures so that we can run out, because I noticed that with the White Death set that there's less brutes and less runners. So I was like, I think it's a really good point there to having a little bit less and maybe running out. Also, the way I do things with like friendly fire, I think is a custom rule. I think I've talked about before. Like, you only hit someone if you roll a 1. I mean, that's not new to me. Other people have done that before. The shooters, I have them activate like normal zombies. They spawn with the shooter icon. I let them roll a dice because, why should the zombies hit so much more consistently than the survivors? So if I roll a single dice, if you roll a 4 or better, they're successful in hitting you. And I just kind of let them do that. So, so those are some of the things that I do. I always play with 4 players. That helps the zombies have a easier chance. And then we have the all-out deck, but they have the dogs. It's kind of that you fine tune and you find what kind of works. And I'm sure James could poke all the holes in it with all the different skills that would be less useful and stuff. But, I think we all can agree that Zombicide can have those moments where if you make it work for your group, that's the way you should play it. And I think that's one of the things that I like best about Zombicide is being able to house rule it a little bit, which is weird because I don't house rule other games like at all. So, but that's okay. I think that's something that's kind of fun and unique about Zombicide is it scratches that creative itch. And I love seeing the things that you guys put out. I have to agree. That stuff that James put together, it just looks super cool. Like I'm always like, ooh, more weapons would be a better, bigger weapon deck would be really great. So seeing that that's available, I'm like, ooh, I should definitely download those because I don't have to mess with Photoshop to do that. I just have to get those things printed. So I love it. And the fact that you put the breaking the all out part in there, I think that's super awesome, James. And again, obviously a huge fan because I won't shut up about it. So yeah.
Well, Jason, the one thing I would say from experience is if you've got an idea that you really want to see, and the only thing that's stopping you is because you don't know Photoshop or whatever, put your ideas out on Discord and say, hey, look, I'm looking for somebody to help me with this project. That's how I'm working on a campaign with a guy from the Netherlands from Discord. He's like, I want to make a campaign system for Black Plague, only using the Black Plague core box because that's all I own. So what can we do? And I was like, hey, look, you write the story, I'll handle the art, and we team up and we're working through it. It's taken us a while, but it's been fun. Yeah. And he's got a lot of fun ideas. And so if you've got ideas that you want to just ask. All anyone can say is not respond to you or no. It's not going to cost you anything. So same thing with the dog companion thing. I was working with a guy on Discord. He's like, I've got this dog I really want to do as a companion. Does anyone want to help me with it? And, I love dogs too. So I helped him out. And that's why we have that dog companion upgrade. So you never know.
Yeah, definitely. Good idea. I think that's my other thing for like Invader. I want to have an abomination deck for Invader. Because that's the thing that second edition started. And, you guys at Schmedley was advocating that the Asmodee would do some upgrades to Invader, and that's the first thing that came to my mind. Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind is just those abomination cards are just the cat's meow. They're just the best.
Yeah, you can in Invader they're already starting to get wacky with the abominations, but they haven't quite separated them out yet.
So yeah, good suggestion, James. I love it. Yeah. It's interesting with those all-out dice. I was thinking about that, being that is my favorite mechanic. I've looked into, like, okay, what is Undead or Alive doing? I think they have a thing where you're basically charging up the weapons with steam, and you can like run out of steam, so the weapon doesn't fully break. And then I was looking into White Death with the campaign expansion, and they have it's not additional dice. I don't believe it's like an additional resource of chi that you're using for certain weapons will have like additional abilities, or like they'll be able to be more powerful. So it's really interesting how what started with second edition's all-out dice system, they've really kind of tweaked it and taken it different ways. And yet, even I haven't played the White Death one yet, or I actually didn't play the Steam one either. But I have to admit, reading the rules for those, I still like the second edition, the all-out dice, the best. The breaking of the weapons it's a high risk problem with a really great reward of some additional hits. So I got to admit that, in my opinion, I'm biased, of course, but they really nailed it with the second edition with what they did. So I've often thought, man, speaking of custom, like doing that all-out mechanic and converting it over to some of the other things, or I know like the magic's kind of weak in the fantasy series. I was like, how could you make that better? But yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool to see all out thrown into some of the other different games and settings.
Yeah.
Yeah. More custom projects for you.
Yeah, the Army of the Dead takes it in an interesting direction with running out of bullets.
Yeah.
So it's basically the same mechanic, but you can have, magazines to throw away so you don't run out of bullets. It's a pretty interesting mechanic. I think it works.
Yeah, because like
you guys keep pushing ever closer to buying that Army of the Dead.
Yeah, because you roll that break die and it breaks, right? And then you flip the card over. I think officially you flip the card over, or do I just do that?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
You're
you
right.
flip the card over,
Right.
and you can't use it. So it's broken for now. It's broken temporarily, essentially, but it's just, it's out of ammo. So you got to find an ammo card to put in there. So I love that, because the break mechanic, the all out breaking mechanic, freaks me out too much. I'm too scared to use it. But it's been a while since I've played that version of it too, and so I really like the ammo system of it breaks for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan, I dare you to try that. Four survivors, throw in the dogs, but throw in the all out deck, and see what you think.
Nice. Okay.
Before you completely leave second edition behind,
Right.
Favor of the next podcast pastures.
I'll see what I could do. But yeah, I do want to try that. That sounds like a great challenge. Appreciate that, and I will let you know. I'll let you know how that goes. All right. Final thoughts, Schmedley.
Embrace the chaos. James?
Yeah, make the game what you want it to be. Jason?
Go all out. Kind of already said it.
Love it.
Ryan?
I don't have such a punchy thing. Sorry. Yeah. So, my big revelation of like, wow, this game really is much easier. But again, just to try to retread what we said earlier, but it's like, I'm becoming probably a more advanced player because I play a lot of Zombicide games a lot now. And I'm only one player commanding everything perfectly how I want to, based on all my skills and knowledge from the past. So it kind of skews it, but we've talked about, there's a lot of ways. It's a great big sandbox. It's still a great fun system, but you know what? Like, as it stands right now, as the game is right now, it's not going to be my first go-to game for Zombicide. If I'm having friends over to play Zombicide with me, I'm going to pick something else. I'm going to pick Army of the Dead, or for modern, or I'm going to pick Invader, because that's actually, of everything that we've reviewed here on the show so far, because I haven't played other games outside of that, I think, Invader is still my favorite, or is my favorite at this point. We haven't played Undead or Alive yet, or White Death, or Marvel Zombies, but But yeah, this Invader's my favorite. And then Gotham City Outbreak is pretty amazing. It's hard to say that it isn't, but it's very contained and very limited with like this very limited stuff that it comes with. And Army of the Dead, as we talked about before, is just such a great self-contained box, and has a lot more, I think, just like refined modern design decisions there that make it very interesting and more challenging for me. Doesn't mean I'm selling or getting rid of this game, not by any means. There's still a lot to play with, and thanks to James, there's even more to play with. And I'm excited to. I'm actually still very tickled and very excited by the campaign expansions, because I don't feel at all like I've conquered those. And there's so much to play in there, and there's a new interesting, tense challenges for me to take on in terms of trying to working to make those the right kind of difficulty that I want to get out of it as a solo player. So that's my final thoughts on Zombicide 2nd Edition Kickstarter and the Kickstarter and all of it. All right, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great one for. Sorry, just to respond to a few things you said. I think this is a great one for introducing people to Zombicide, just because this is. I mean, like, thematically, I do think just like a zombie apocalypse in a city is like the most generic that Zombicide gets. Mm-hmm. But that's why it kind of like developed its own identity as like, this is the ultimate blank slate where anybody can show up at any time throughout the multiverse.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's a very good direction for it to go in, to, especially if you consider it and First Edition both like equally existent Zombicide games. Now you have the generic zombie apocalypse in a city, and you have like this ultimate crossover one.
Yeah.
So it certainly stands out. And I do think just being that generic and being even like mechanically the most generic without a whole lot of extra bells and whistles makes it very good for new people. I normally either do this or Marvel Zombies first when introducing new people.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I am definitely speaking from a very skewed conversation or point of view perspective. Running this show, being hardcore into Zombicide and everything.
Yeah.
Like this is still, if I was having a more casual group, maybe over, then I might still actually say let's play Zombicide 2nd Edition. Because Army of the Dead is quite a bit more involved. It might take a while for someone to get their head around the sleepers and how all that works, and all of that. And then, maybe Invader sci-fi is not going to be someone's cup of tea. So it still definitely has a place and a time. I wouldn't I'm not going to cancel it out completely. There are definitely going to be situations that I'll know second edition is the right choice, and I'll pull that off and pull that off the shelf, and we'll have a great time for sure.
Oh, so if anybody is wondering, I mean, I'll probably have it when this episode comes out, but I don't currently have White Death. Everybody else does. They're working on painting it, but that episode is going to be a little more delayed than our Gotham City Outbreak one was. We're not going to be super on top of it because they need to paint a lot more miniatures, and Simon won't give me the game. So
please, Simon or Asmodee, give him the game.
Whoever's in charge.
We hope you enjoyed our review of the Zombicide 2nd Edition Kickstarter and expansions. Next episode, we'll be doing our discussion and review of Zombicide Undead or Alive, the core game. Our book club mission will be M8 Brothers Keepers. So if you want to follow along, that's what we're up to. Hopefully I will also play it, not M3 or something. All right. Thanks again, Jason, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. It was super fun getting to hang out with you guys for several episodes.
Yeah.
So thanks again.
Awesome. All right. That places us on the exit zone of this episode. Thanks so much for listening or watching. Good night, everybody.
Stay nice out there.
Happy gaming.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks again for listening to the Zombicide Fans podcast. Zombicide Fans is an unofficial podcast and is not affiliated with or endorsed by Simon or Guillotine Games. Thank you from your hosts, Ryan Messick, Schmedley Mayers, and James Fisher. And thanks to our special guest, Jason Pensa, plus our sponsor, BoardGameGoodies.shop, where listeners can save 10% with coupon code PODCAST. You can check out the show on all major podcast listening platforms and on YouTube. You can reach us at zombicidefans@gmail.com. The podcast is hosted at zombicidefans.com. Join our communities at the Zombicide Discord and the All Zombicide Games Facebook group. All links will be in the show notes. Until next time, survive.